Hello and welcome back to another Walkabout Sessions. It's been a while since we made one of these. I won't make this intro too long because this video is quite long, but we're going to be shooting with my friend Johnny, and I just wanted to preface all of this by saying that this video was shot over 2 separate years because we started filming this last year in 2023, did about half of it, so all the nighttime shots are from then, and then we filmed the rest of it this year after I moved back. But anyway, we're just gonna jump in. He's gonna take it away, and then we'll talk about this at the end.
All right, guys. So anyways, this looks like a generic roll of 120 film, but what it actually is Kodak Vision 3 250D with the ramjet still left on. I believe it's a big spool of IMAX film that they cut the edges off, so you have some sprocket holes at the end of them, but not too much, so it's not bad. We're gonna throw this in the RZ67. It's not really.
That's a very small camera you got there.
It's just the back actually. If only you could take medium format in such a small function, right? You know, it could be a pocket camera, you never know. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna work with tonight. It's daylight bounce film, but you know what? It's not a sin to edit later.
All right, John, let's do some of these questions for the interview because everyone wants to know exactly what's going through your head. You're so famous, everyone loves you. They just have all these questions, and I've polled the population of Ottawa, and I asked them, you know, what are the things that you've been meaning to ask John. And so first of all, why don't you tell us who you are?
Hey guys, I'm John, formerly Johnny the Bandit on social media platforms.
Also Johnny the Banjo?
Also Johnny the Banjo, a spin-off temporary name while I figured out my identity in the photography community. Yeah, so it kind of just started off as like a bit of a gimmick, just like a fun way to show a character off in my pursuit of making friends in a new community when I moved to Ottawa. And I definitely like country music and stuff, so that's where that came from. But yeah, I just got into photography in 2019, specifically in the film. Have been slowly working my way up, trying new techniques, new ideas, like double exposures, nighttime long exposures are my favorite, portraiture for sure. And then slowly got into the technical of developing, checking my exposures, and just trying all the different stocks, because it's like having a fresh sensor with fresh characteristics every time you change your film. And now I'm mostly on the hobby side, but I like to do some side projects if somebody's an artist, things like that. So yeah.
I think you answered some of my next question, which is what you shoot or what you like to shoot. But if you want to expand on that a little bit more.
Sure thing. So definitely I would say I like doing portraits and just like any trace of human activity within the frame. That's like my main goal, is to like try and capture that. In terms of like new techniques that I've fallen in love with, is double exposures has been quite the journey for me. Just making a lot of mistakes on film and like figuring out how to layer the highlights and the shadows like on each frame. So I love doing that, and I definitely love nighttime long exposures. That's the most fun. I love inviting people out and going out in a group with a tripod. It's a slow process. We're out there, you know, taking 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute exposures, and it always comes out fun no matter what film you're using. Pro tip, if you can get your hands on it, some Pro Image 100 for your nighttime long exposures will take you a long way.
And when you say nighttime long exposures, what exactly are you, like, if it's one thing, or is it just like a variety of things? Is it like places? Is it people? Is it like highways?
For the nighttime long exposures, it's definitely in the city for the most part, and there's not much human activity if you're in out at night in Ottawa, for example. But if there's a huge crowd in Toronto that is constantly passing through your scene and you have a 1 minute exposure, you can see traces of people moving through. Sometimes you can't. I love to get light trails of cars that pass by, just to kind of like underline in red the building that I'm taking a picture of. So it's mostly urban. Have not explored the rule nighttime long exposure. But that being said, have tried astrophotography a little bit with some friends. Saifi were also there, if you remember, and we captured some of those light trails, not light trails, star trails.
Yeah. I was there. Nearly froze my toes off, but it was a fun time. How would you describe your style? Like, what are the things that you're looking at in the image that sort of are more meaningful to you, things that you're trying to perfect in your vision?
I'm not sure if I have a distinct style. Maybe I'm still on the hunt for it, but I definitely have.
Lots of people are like, it takes a while.
It takes a while to find your style, but I think I'm always like fascinated with the technical aspects of photography. So when I see the frame, you know, little things might bug me, like I took a picture of somebody but I just cut off their toes and now I don't have like a full like body picture, or like just the placement of an outfit, if the jacket is slightly unbuttoned or things like that. And like I said earlier, like the technical stuff is like where I get like almost tunnel vision, like learning how to develop myself, or like calculating the right amount of extra time I need to do for a nighttime long exposure for the reciprocity failure. Sometimes, like, you know, information isn't always available online and you're the one that's got to figure it out and possibly share it online. So that kind of stuff also intrigues me. There was a time though where I did think I wanted to go for kind of like a Western cowboy rodeo kind of style, and I was hoping to do an exclusive like, you know, project like that. Another project or style that I wanted to maybe like satirically do was called Bob LaFontaine, Boring Government Worker, taking boring government pictures in boring Ottawa, and just take all the tropes of Ottawa, but also have some B-roll images of me taking it in a very boring and precise manner. But yeah, there's always ideas. I just haven't pursued them as much as I would like to.
Honestly. I'd buy a book if it was just really, really boring, like drab gray pictures, and you like you're wearing like a suit and you're standing there with like a cable release, taking all of these pictures with like zero emotion. I think it could work.
Yeah, I think the Bob LaFontaine character might take off. Who knows? We'll find out.
I'm here for it. So, okay, who are your inspirations, or, you know, conversely, if you don't want to get into one, but what's your favorite genre? And, you know, who are some of the artists in that genre that you really like?
Man, this is a tough one because I don't think I know the mainstream or big artists in the photography community per se, but
That's fine. It doesn't have to be like mainstream. It's just whatever you enjoy.
Yeah.
And even then, you don't have to pinpoint one genre. It's just more of like a broad of like, what are the things that you like? And
like,
what
okay.
are some photographers
Not a
that you
specific
like?
photographer.
It doesn't have to be
Okay.
completely specific.
Okay.
That's just sort of like, that's just the prompt, really.
Okay. I think this is a tough one because I don't know any names I could drop, but I felt like the most part I got into photography kind of like as a social activity too, like to make friends in a new community or just have a shared activity. But I think the people I enjoy actually shoot Super 8.
Okay.
Not necessarily
like
stills.
movies? Okay.
Yeah, like mini movies. I have a friend, Dom, in Montreal, and they shoot Super 8 for people's music videos, people's weddings. Just very well versed in Super 8, and just other characters I've met throughout Ottawa. But Super 8, I think I like it so much because I fell in love with one film stock, which is maybe now like a popular one, which is the Vision 3 series of movie film. Biggest reasons why I like it is because I can develop it myself. I find it's like almost like shooting raw images in a way that, you know, you get those negatives, they're super flat, and you can almost do whatever you want to it. So you can make your style, you can make your colors punch, you can do all kinds of stuff. But I also really enjoyed, and I don't have any results to share yet, but I did enjoy like a bleach bypass with the Vision 3 films. So maybe my genre is like a cinematic aesthetic. Yeah, like just like, am I in a movie? Am I telling a story? Because like I think it is still. I haven't been successful in telling a story with just a series of pictures, but that's how it kind of started. I wanted to be able to tell like a short story with pictures, but the problem is like without words or the video aspect of it, it's open to interpretation, right? So maybe it's just to feel a cinematic vibe. Maybe that's the genre I'm into.
Fair enough. Okay, so you're not from Ottawa, so why did you move here? Why do you shoot where you choose to shoot? Is there something that you're looking for when you're going out to like find a location, or you're just like walking around in your neighborhood? Why here and why those places?
So I'm not from Ottawa, but I truly think no matter where you're at, there's something to document, there's something to take photos of, or there's a location where you can stage photos if you like to stage a series, things like that. I don't think that there's such thing as a boring place. I know it's been argued that Ottawa's a boring place, but I definitely think there's enough action out here. But
it's not a boring place.
It's not a boring place. It's absolute. There's so much going in the arts community out here. But in terms of like when I go out like looking for a location, I think I've pursued the vintage aesthetic, like going out to find like old cars is kind of fun. I've often used the Highway 7 route to go from Ottawa to Toronto, and every time I've made that drive, I've always seen a car I liked or a building that looks interesting or an abandoned motel. So I can see the pleasure and the fun of like almost like treasure hunting to find locations for your aesthetic or your photography. But at the same time, if you just walk around any part of Ottawa, any new part, any old part, maybe a part that you're not used to, maybe outside of your comfort zone, like the hood, or maybe opposingly a very well-to-do bourgeoisie neighborhood is somewhere where I feel unsafe sometimes, like because I just feel like I stick out. But trying those things might be fun. I think it would be fun to go places where you don't necessarily belong, like a little bit of trespassing in a parking garage, light stuff like that.
We don't condone trespassing on this channel. If you do that, that's on you.
That's definitely on you, and some people get away with it more than others, which is cool. But yeah, location, I think I just go about my life, and if I see something, I just make a note to come back to it later. But I do enjoy an unplanned outing where you just walk, you make it somewhere you don't know what's going to happen, or you just drive and you don't know what's going to happen, or you find a friend and be like, hey friend, who has nothing to do with photography, where would you like to go for a social drive? And then that social drive turns into a photo series that you would have never imagined. Like, for example, I went out one time in the middle of winter with my friend Tara, and there was a cool spot where ferries would take cars from one side to the other, and it was all covered in snow, and I had a very nice shoot just on the ferry covered with snow. So you never know, just be open to adventure.
Yeah. And I mean, that's really like the spirit of like the whole Walkabout series. I don't really like to plan it too much, aside from if I'm shooting a very specific film stock, I'll try to get something that's a little bit suited to it. But beyond that, I just really like go for a walk, and whatever I see is what I see. And it's not even always in the same areas, so it's not like I know exactly what I'm gonna see. Sometimes I'll just go somewhere that I don't go at all, and that's just that's how it is. That's just how you keep it fresh, right? So my next question is, are you working on something right now, like some sort of project, or some sort of like, it could be physical, it could just be something that you are working on producing, like you haven't made the photos yet, or it could be something like we're collecting some work that you made before into some sort of series?
No, I'm currently creatively unemployed. To speak, I don't got a project to work on. I could share ideas with you if that tickles your fancy.
Oh no, it's not. I don't want to pull something out of you. It's just more a question of is there something that's been in your head that you want to work on, even if you haven't started yet?
Okay. Yeah. So in my head, I've definitely had a couple different projects written down. So one project is to make my first zine, and the theme of the zine is going to be double exposures, so exclusively double exposures, because it was a new technique to me that I just fell in love with. I've been working on it very hard just to get it, and like I mentioned, like I might be pursuing the technical aspects of getting a good photo more than the story or the vibe, but it definitely makes me happy, so I would love to showcase some work. So the basis of the idea for the zine would be that it would be all new double exposures, and how it would work is that we'll have one double exposure for the first photo, and then the second double exposure would have the same exact frame from the first one, but now a new frame would be added. So it would just be one frame that's going to be modified as we go along until we get to some kind of stark, dark, somber conclusion. So the theme will be somber. That's what I wrote down in my little notebook, and that's what I'd like to do. In terms of projects that are not necessarily on the creative side, but like technical, saving money, trying to finance this hobby of mine, is to bulk load film. So I've definitely gotten into that recently, and I was lucky enough to just keep my peepers on the marketplaces, as all men turning my age do, spend too much time on Facebook Marketplace like it's a social media app. And I found a great 400-foot roll of very expired Kodak Vision 3 500T, like the classic cine film. And I got to bulk load a bunch, test it, find out what settings I need to use, and now I am selling it
Very nice.
for affordable price, or selling it as a package with development, no scans. So yeah, it's been keeping me busy and also keeping one foot in the photography realm while I'm on a bit of a hiatus. So yeah, those are the two projects.
Cool. And just to clarify, when you say double exposures, in this case, like you're talking about doing all of them on film or some of them on digital?
So they would all be on film. I haven't quite figured out how digital double exposures work in camera, but I think I wouldn't enjoy it, because you could layer two photos very easily with like some skills in Photoshop and just go about your day, right? And I think why I'm so addicted to these double exposures on film is because you really gotta pretend like you're in the dark room almost. It's like, okay, look, I got a setting on my camera that won't let the film advance. My first scene is here. Let me measure off the highlights. Let me measure off the darks. And then you pick, okay, so when I see this exposure with two things layered over it, I want this to be fully dark, and I want this to be fully light. And you use the right settings, and you also go down a stop, like you underexpose a stop or a half stop, so that there's still more space on the film to take the second photo. And then you kind of remember visually in your head, where were the highlights, where were the darks, and then you try to overlay with your next one where your darks were. Now you put your highlights with your second frame, and you can do it like that. I've gone so far as to even block out a part of my lens with an object, like my lens cap. That technique, like so I got the idea because I took a darkroom class where we were dodging and burning, and also just like figuring out how to work with it, and it just it clicked in my head that like the paper is like a memory card, and when you take the first photo, if you use all of your exposure ability, you could fill it right to capacity, and then that's what's saved. But if you overexpose it, then you don't have any room to put your second photo in. So you take 5 megabyte photo and another 5 megabyte photo on a 10 megabyte strip of film, and you kind of think about it that it's almost like you gotta just shine enough light there, just shine enough exposure. So when I saw like the dodging and burning technique in the dark room, I thought, why can't I replicate this? And some tips for you guys out there, if you're gonna try this, is remember your aperture blades will come down and make that circle smaller, so what you think you're covering in the viewfinder is at a fully f2 or f2.8, whatever your widest aperture is. So just remember to think that if you're using a certain aperture and you're covering a tiny hole with a part of it, once the blade's closed down, you'll get a fully black frame, right? So you almost have to like bring it down a little bit just so that the light's cutting off there. I don't know much about the double exposure world right now. I have been away from the social media for a bit, but I would definitely think it's controversial. Maybe it's a cheat, but I think if you do whatever you do, your end product is your end product. You can do whatever technique you want. I'm not a purist by any means, because at the end of the day, what scanner I use, what developer I use, everything changes, right? Like people were doing stuff in the dark room back in the day, and that's why it's called the light room, because now you're not in the dark room.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I don't think it's wrong to do the splits or like where you cover up half the frame or anything. I think it's quite common, and like recently, I don't know if you watch, I think his name's Linus and his camera. He does a lot of stuff where he uses double exposures where he does them sort of like half the frame is cut off. He just blacks that part out initially and then uses it again. And he's had some very nice results, and he's quite like a big creator. So I don't think it's even frowned upon. I think you're good. And with the like with the exposure rule, it's like exposure is like a zero sum game, right? Like you want to get down to that perfect sum, and if you do half stop, you're just exposing the same like one stop below, you're just exposing the film for half the amount of time, and you leave yourself another half exposure to get it up to full exposure. So all right, here's your last question. It's, if you had to give out any one piece of advice, now keep in mind this doesn't have to be specific to photography, but if it's related, it's slightly more helpful. But any one piece of advice to anyone, what would it be?
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. And I know you might think I'm joking, but just being honest with yourself when you're doing too much, or being honest with yourself when you're pushing other people's limits, just check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Very fair, yeah. Just advocating for a little bit of self-reflection. It's fair, right? There's a lot of opportunity for you to get lost in your vision of whatever it is. It could be your art, could be your life. You don't pay attention to the comfort levels of other people, and it's a very, very fair thing to say. But how would you, like, if you had to point that to your photography, what would you like? Do you think you could like sort of shoehorn it into?
Sure. With photography, I think I don't know if I have any specific advice, but like just talk. Just like I don't know. I think it took me a while to get to learn these techniques, but I think not getting too much tunnel vision into what you think is a right technique or a wrong technique is something I had to learn, because I was definitely like in my own zone where I think this is proper and this is the only way I would enjoy a photo if it was made this way. But people have made great photos in so many different ways. Like I have definitely been the snob to enjoy a photo and not know that it was taken on a beautiful iPhone or a whatever, and whereas before I would have looked down upon it, but now I don't. And I don't know, leverage photography to feel a sense of community. There's different communities all over the place, and I think photography folks, photogs, whatever you call them, come in all shapes and sizes, and all mediums, whether you're a digital as fuck shony shooter or a super big large format film person. I think you can make connections in all areas of photography.
Very well said. I did want to say earlier, when I asked about the film version, like whether you're shooting your double exposure on film, I just wanted to ask that because specifically to point out that it's much more difficult doing them on film than it is on digital, because on digital, you can usually get that like overlay, so you can see the first picture you took and what you're seeing again. But you don't have that luxury with film. You just have to you have to remember. And if you have a camera that lets you do double exposure, then that's great. But if you don't, then you have to do the other way, where you shoot a roll all the way through, and then you rewind it, and then you shoot it again, and then you have to remember 36 shots that you took, so it's not all amazing and easy like you do it in Photoshop. So it's much more impressive and much more difficult and, as you said, technical. All right, I think that's everything. I wanted to say something based on what you said, but yeah, it's that about the photos that there's like no quantifying factor of what makes a good photo, right? Like I said in my last video, it's like a photo doesn't have to be sharp to be good. A photo doesn't have to be in color to be good. A photo doesn't have to say something to be good. A good photo when you see a good photo, and that's really all that matters, is the feeling that it gives the person seeing it, right?
Yeah, if it provokes a feeling in you, good, bad, mid, anything, it's a good photo. Exactly. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for giving us your time in 2 separate years. We filmed the first half of this last year, and then I moved away for a whole year, and we completely forgot about it. And we said, you should come visit Toronto, and then we'll shoot some there. And then he never came, so it's fine. It's fine. We got there. It's okay. But yeah, great, good stuff. All right, guys, John is about to develop some film for us.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. So as you can see, we're out here in nature, where Mother Nature intended us to shoot some film, and we're going to show you how to develop film in Lac La Pêche. First step.
All right, let's go.
Get your freshly exposed film and pull it all the way out. Then you're going to take the natural vitamins and minerals and vitamin C found in the waters of Lac La Pêche and just go for a little wash. As you can see, something's developing. Looks like a blank roll. Welcome.
All right. Well, if you made it through all of that, thank you. I really enjoy making the Walkabout sessions. I've mentioned this every episode of these. But anyway, I'm going to try and continue to make more. I'm reaching out to more and more photographers here in Ottawa. But if you see this and you want to do one of these, just reach out to me either here in the comments or just message me on Instagram, and we can work it out. But yeah, beyond that, just more videos are going to be coming. Thank you to Johnny for coming out on this over a long period of time, because clearly we filmed some of it, then we put it on the back burner, and now we filmed some more. But overall, it's always a great time to be able to hang out with friends, and it also gives you a little bit of a break from watching me take the same old pictures. So it's nice. But yeah, that's it from me, and I'll see you in the next one.